Welcome back to Rehabilitation Revelations World. I'm Chase.
I'm Christopher. Look, today, guys, we got a really special person too. I know the recovery scene, but to a lot of people out there, Miss Nikki Warren. I know she has been through some things. We're lucky to have her on today, and we really appreciate being at this beautiful lake today and going on a sweet boat ride to get over here and everything. But anyway, we'll kind of jump into it. But we are glad Nikki is here today.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, so tell us where you been, where you at, what you done in life, where life's brought you, really.
Yeah.
You want me to take it all the way from the beginning?
Yeah.
Come on with it.
Okay. So I'm Nikki. I am a person in recovery for the last 6.5 years. My substance of use was heroin. That was what I preferred. In reality, I would probably do pretty much any drug that was put in front of my face, but my favorite was heroin. So I guess to tell you how I got to heroin, I have to tell you how I got started. I have great parents. It's not like your typical trauma and doing what your parents do. I had a great family. My parents put me in private school. They put me in extracurriculars. They did everything on their end, pretty textbook. What they didn't know and what I wasn't telling anybody throughout my entire childhood was that I was a victim of sexual abuse with an uncle. So I carried that throughout my entire life pretty much until I got older. I didn't really realize that it had impacted me in any way. But how I got started using drugs was your normal being in college, and it's just the normal thing to do. We were going to parties, drinking, beer pong, whatever. And at that time, especially in Walker County, I don't know if y'all were here in the early 2000s, there were pill mill doctors, and it was very easy to get OCs, all the different pain pills. And so while I never had a prescription for them, it was very normal for everybody to have some pain pills to do them recreationally. And that was fun and games and having a good time for a long time until kind of look around and some people have moved on and started their lives, got married, had kids, gotten careers, and then there were some of us that were just still doing that. But I used I wouldn't say successfully, but I was functioning to the point where I had a job and a car and a place to live for a long time. And then I got married. I moved to Ohio. Then I took off to Salt Lake City, Utah. Lived out there for about a year. Lived in England for about a year. Came back stateside, and I lived in Denver for a couple years. And then during this whole time, I wasn't using because I had been taken out of Walker County, but I was drinking every day. That my addiction would take on different forms depending on where I was. And then when I made it back to Walker County, I had went through a divorce. My dad, my stepdad, but he, I viewed him as my dad. He had died. And then I was also going through a court case. I had been subpoenaed to court to testify against my uncle, where the state had picked up charges from when I was a kid, and I had to go and testify against him in court. And so all that happened around the same time that I came back to Alabama and was trying to, call my dealer, hey, I want my normal Roxy's or whatever, and there wasn't any because Walker County, the police had came in and shut those pill mill doctors down, and they thought that they had solved our drug problem. What they did was pushed everybody into a heroin epidemic in Walker County. So when I came back and couldn't find any pain pills, they're like, try this. It's cheaper, it's stronger, it's better. And so from the time that I tried heroin, I was no longer any kind of functioning. Like, very quickly it took me down, all the way down through there, where I ended up.
Were you IV or did you? What did you? How did you?
Nasal.
Nasal. Okay.
I tried IV one time, and the girl who was trying to hit my vein blew my vein out, and it scared me really bad, and I never did it again. And that was probably grace of God keeping me alive, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was nasal. I couldn't keep a job. Ended up just quitting working altogether and started selling heroin as my full-time gig. Car got repossessed, didn't have anywhere to live, was just kind of floating through life, pretty miserable. I was just constantly worried about how I was going to get my next bag so that I wouldn't be sick, because I knew, like, within 4 to 6 hours I was going to be miserable. I put myself in a lot of situations that I shouldn't have lived through. Ended up, at the time, I weighed probably 98 pounds. I had no business selling heroin that quantity as a little 98-pound female, but I was doing it. And then, I ended up guns held to my head at one point. I ended up getting robbed one morning, and a guy came in and beat me, zip tied me, held a knife to my neck, told me if I didn't stop screaming he was gonna kill me. And then while his girlfriend ran around and stole everything in my house, my purse, money, phone, wallet, all my drugs, stole everything. So I very, very quickly was reaching my rock bottom when it came to heroin. And then that all culminated. I had gone one weekend to get my normal 8-ball of heroin, and I did not find out till later, but I bought what I thought was heroin that turned out to be pure fentanyl. And this was before fentanyl it's so common now, but back then we had kind of heard of it but hadn't actually seen it yet. And so I didn't know. I thought it was heroin. I do my normal little line, and I blacked out. I don't remember, I think 2 or 3 days. I don't know what happened. The stories recounted to me is that I stole my mother's wallet. I was trying to steal her car, but I left her car, the door open and the car running. And at one point I had overdosed, and the people who found me, they were coming to my house to buy a bag, and they knew I was home, but I wasn't answering the phone and wasn't coming to the door. They weren't really worried about me being dead. They were just worried about getting their bag. But they did save me. So, but that didn't stop me. I wasn't like, hey, maybe I should quit. Yeah, I'm like, okay, gotta get more now. And so I woke up in jail. I didn't know where I had been arrested, how I had been arrested, what my charges were. I knew nothing. I just knew I was in jail.
Is this in Walker County?
Yeah, in the Walker County Jail. And so I asked to call my lawyer, and they were like, you've already talked to your lawyer. And I was like, oh, crap. So what I found out later was that my mom had put a bolo, be on the lookout, out for me because she couldn't find me, and her wallet was gone, and her car was left running with the door open. And so she called the police. Hey, I think somebody's kidnapped my 29-year-old daughter. Who would want to kidnap me? I have no idea. I was no prize at that time for kidnapping. And then at that time, I just so happened to be at Love's Truck Stop over on 22, and the staff there had called the police because there's a lady high in their store, which was me, and they arrested me. All in all, I had 9 felony charges. I had 3 distributions, 3 possessions, assaulting a police officer, reckless endangerment, and a prison contraband charge. I got the assaulting a police officer and reckless endangerment charge because when I was being arrested, the officer who was arresting me, a captain actually, he somehow my bag of fentanyl, he got exposed to it, and so he had to go to the hospital and get Narcan, which put extra charges on me. And then the distributions, I didn't know it, but I already had 3 warrants where I had been selling to an informant and had no idea. What they told me was they had 20-something documented buys where I had sold to an informant, but they had only done the paperwork for 3 of the warrants. My guess is that they were planning on me being a part of one of their drug bust things where they post you in the newspaper and say we got a big drug dealer. I was not a big drug dealer. I was not even making enough money to satisfy my own habit, let alone making any profit. But so I went in front of Judge Allred in Walker County. I pretty much knew I didn't have any other choice but to just ask for help. I thought I was probably going to prison, and this was just like a Hail Mary last ditch effort to try to not go to prison. I asked Judge Allred for help, and he gave me help, not in the way that I had wanted, but it was in the way that I needed in the long run. He told me that he was gonna court order me to treatment for a year. If I completed treatment, then he would let me enter into his drug court program. But I had to complete that year of treatment first, which I don't know if y'all have ever done drug court, but usually they let you plead in, and then if you mess up, they send you to rehab.
Yeah.
But for me, because my charges were so significant, they don't typically let people with distribution charges into drug court. So he was just like doing me a solid, saying go to treatment. If you complete treatment, then I'll let you in drug court. I don't know if he actually believed I would complete treatment or not. I don't know if I believed I would complete treatment, but so I went, sat in the county jail for about a month, waiting on a bed of Judge Allred's choice. And during that time, I was in an open dorm with 40 women. It was freezing. I was withdrawn off heroin, cold turkey, and it was one of the darkest times of my life. During those days, I was not actively suicidal. Like, I didn't want to, like, carry out the act of killing myself, but I definitely didn't want to be alive. I knew that I didn't have much of an existence. I didn't have purpose. I didn't have any hope. I just wanted to kind of not wake up was my best bet. I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't want to live either.
Yeah.
So I got a call from my lawyer. I had been given a bed at New Life for Women in Gadsden, and I had heard about New Life for Women. A lot of people that I knew had been court ordered there, and I had been told it's Bible boot camp, it's it's a cult, don't do it. And so I freaked out. I called my dad and I was like, I've changed my mind. I'm just gonna go to prison. I'll just go to prison, serve my little sentence, and then I'll get out, and I'll probably, in my head, I was thinking I'll probably be out of prison before I would even have completed treatment anyway. I told my dad, I called my lawyer, tell him I changed my mind, I want to go to prison. And my dad, at that point, he probably did the best thing he's ever done for me. He's done a lot of good things for me, but he did the best thing he's ever done for me. It probably saved my life. He told me that if I did not go to rehab, He was not going to come visit me in prison. He wouldn't answer the phone when I called. He wouldn't put money on my books. I did not want to go to prison without money on my books.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would do okay in prison with money.
Yeah.
Without money,
That's
I don't think I would do so
yeah.
well.
You know, help on the outside is a different story.
Yeah.
Right. So he said that, and I was like, okay, pack my stuff. I got picked up by Community Corrections Court Referral. They took me to New Life for Women. It's out in Gadsden. My goal was, I'm going to get through this program. I'm going to lay low. I'm going to do what I got to do to get out of here, get my freedom back, get my life back together. Probably going to get out, and I'm going to get like a typical 9-to-5 job, be able to pay my bills, get my crap together, still party on the weekends. I'm just not going to do heroin every day again. I won't let it get that bad again. It was my solid plan. It's foolproof in my head.
Yeah.
And so once I got there, I did not lay low. They immediately, I was immediately on their radar. I wasn't really taking it seriously. I was just trying to get through. Fake it till you make it is what everybody says. And so about 4 months into being there, it was April of 2018. My roommate at the time at New Life for Women, her name was Ashley. Ashley was like, defied all stereotypes of substance use disorder. And she was like, good family from Hoover, beautiful, blonde, like you would never in a million years think this girl is like a raging heroin addict. But so she's there, she's my roommate. We became friends. She left treatment against medical advice on a Friday night, and within a week she had overdosed and died. And that for me was like my wake up call. I had a lot of different points of surrender, like surrendering to ask for help, surrendering to go to treatment, but actually surrendering to like to everything that is required to like be successful in recovery and work program did not happen until she died, because it was like a realization for me that I wasn't just in there trying to get my life back in order or just in there trying to get my freedom back. Like I was really in a fight for my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the first time that I realized that I had like an addiction that wanted to kill me. And that if I didn't do something about it, it was going to. And I guess it's the first time that I decided I cared to live and even do anything about it. So from then on, I just kind of started digging into it, following suggestions I was given. Like if you can go through a program and just get through and get done with it and go on about your life. But if you buy into a program, it can change your life if you let it.
Oh yeah.
So I bought in, ended up completing in November of 2018, got out and immediately pled into drug court, went through 19 months of drug court, which was, Walker County Drug Court was a very strict program. For me, it was very easy because I had been living in such a structured environment for the last year. It's like, this is nothing compared to what I've been doing. So I completed drug court, got all of my charges dismissed. And around the time I completed drug court, I started working at Bradford. Judge already had wrote me a letter of recommendation saying, hey, you know, she's got these pending charges, but she's doing good in the program. She's doing all this. You know, I recommend her to work for y'all. And that's kind of how I got my start working in the recovery community, which in turn changed the whole entire trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
But
And that's what you do now. Sorry. So what do you what is your job title?
I am the outreach coordinator for ROSS, which is the Recovery Organization of Sports Specialists.
Okay. So you kind of get people in to rehabs and things like that, or what's your job entitlement like?
Yeah, so back in 2020, while I was working at Bradford, I got certified through the Alabama Department of Mental Health as a certified recovery support specialist. From there, it gave me the opportunity to start working in a role where I share my lived experience with people and help, give them hope when they're still struggling. I left Bradford and went to work for Northwest Alabama Mental Health Center. I worked there for a while, learned a lot about peer work and recovery, and the whole recovery system of care, which is not an easy system to navigate. I know we all had those moments where we Googled like how to get into treatment, free rehab, help now. Nothing really of substance comes up. It's a lot of spam sites, and it's a lot of
you always get that SAMHSA, the
yes,
SAMHSA number.
SAMHSA,
You know what I'm talking about?
988,
Yeah.
call 988.
Yeah.
So from there, I started working for Ross. Ross is a very unique organization. We are the largest peer-run organization in the country. So by peer-run, I mean everybody who works for Ross is in long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for Ross is a certified recovery support specialist. And we have several different programs. We're funded solely through state and federal grants, and some donations. But everything we do is free. We're a nonprofit. Everything we do is fully confidential. We have several different programs. We have 6 community centers across the state. We have a special women's program for like pregnant and parenting women. We have it's called the RCSP program. It's a mentorship where you can come in you can have 1 day sober and come in and be a part of this internship program. They have a full curriculum. You learn about recovery, professionalism, like how to do a resume, how to do a successful job interview, and then
teach them life skills.
Yeah, basic
opportunities.
life skills.
Yeah.
Yes, and then from there they assist the people in their program to get certified as a recovery support specialist. We also have a BJA program, which is Bureau of Justice Assistance. That is individuals that go into the jail and help people get court-ordered treatment that way. And then we have our outreach program, which is my passion. Our outreach program is very special. We are the individuals who go out into the community and meet people where they're at, reach the people that are falling through the cracks. Maybe they don't have a phone, maybe they don't have a car, they don't have any money, they don't have any insurance, they're unhoused. We don't care. We're out there going into the community, helping these people get treatment, get whatever resources they need. We have appear in almost every county in the upper half of Alabama, and then we have a sister organization called PEIR, PEIR, that covers the lower half of Alabama. But basically we have a 24/7 helpline. If anybody needs help, they can call our helpline and they can get linked to the person who answers the phone is going to be a person in recovery. They're going to give them resources in their area. Then they're going to send an email to whoever is the closest peer to them. And that person's going to reach out to them and help get them into treatment, get them into detox, whatever it is that they need or whatever they're willing to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, that is incredible.
Yeah.
I wanted to, I guess, to follow up with that, Nikki, say somebody is at the end of the road. Like you said, they don't have a phone, they don't have a car, they're in the house. They're basically winging it out there. So someone like that, or their family, or somebody's trying to help them, what would be the first step that they would need to do to actively start to enter a treatment center to do that? I know you said call a number, but I mean, at the same time, I don't have a phone, I don't have a car, I don't have anywhere to get there. So
Right.
how would you guide somebody trying to navigate this?
So I think if you don't have a phone, you can borrow somebody's phone. I think when we're out there using, there's many times we didn't. There's times I didn't have
No,
phone
you'll
or
find a way.
minutes or whatever. Yeah, you can borrow somebody's phone, reach out. It's just a phone call away.
Yeah.
And then we can I'll meet you tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Arby's. I've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just
And basically just meeting people where they're at. But I know, say I'll use me for example.
Mhm.
Now, granted, I've been to 7 different rehabilitations. You know what I mean? So,
Going
you know,
strong. Going strong,
So,
man.
you know, I kind of understand. You know, not very well because I went 7 times, but you know,
You
so
got
I
it
understand
this
kind of
time,
what to
man.
expect and what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So I know people like, hey, I need help. I want help, but I'm fearful of like what's next.
Mhm.
Is there any advice or I don't know, just some helping words, you know, for their family or really them to say like, hey, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, what could they expect?
Say, hey, it's gonna be okay.
You know?
I think a lot of times it's not even what I say to them. It's just the fact that y'all are no different. Like, just the living embodiment of hope, of being like a living example of it. You don't have to say anything. You just live your life every day, and people are like, oh, he got it. It took him 7 times, but that gives me hope because I've been 8, and now I know that, I'm not a lost cause.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's not really like saying any special magical words to them. It's just living your life, setting an example, and just being like, look, if I can do it, you can do it. I did it. It sucked. It was the hardest thing I ever did. It was also the most rewarding thing I ever did.
Yep.
And there's so many people that like it's part of working a program is giving back.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's so many people that want to jump in and help if somebody's willing. Like we'll go a long way to help somebody who's willing.
Yeah, they're not alone in it. You
Never.
know, that's where you said it's just people go in and they feel alone.
Mhm.
But where we've been, we realize that there are people that actually care.
Yeah.
And that want to help you and do you and kind of following this question, like when y'all do recommend recovery, obviously y'all recommend long term, right? Like 6 months to a year.
For us, obviously, I think going to the longer you go statistically, data wise, the longer you go to treatment, and the higher your chances are of being successful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen people not go to treatment and get sober and stay sober. I've seen people do outpatient and get sober and stay sober. I've seen people do it by going to church. So I'm not like, it's not my place to recommend anybody to go anywhere. I don't have like a master's degree to give people, a diagnosis or a recommendation or a referral. All I can do is just listen to people and say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I did, but I have to do whatever they're willing to do. And a lot of times that you can probably relate to, you got to try it a whole bunch of different ways before you figure out the right way for you. Because my goal, I tried it several different ways. I tried a little Suboxone taper, a methadone taper, moving to a whole nother country. I tried it several different ways before I tried it the way that worked for me.
Yeah.
So we don't kind of recommend. I share my experience, and then whatever they're willing to do, I have to meet them where they're at and be like, okay, let's do this. They have to set their own goals.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing too. I know for me is that I know there's not a set parameter of steps necessarily that one has to follow to be, because one person could do it this way and they're sober for 30 years. Another person could do it this way, they're sober for 30 years. And it, for me, for example, it's taken, failing at a bunch of different things to necessarily, not that I always have it, but to enter long-term recovery. But in saying that, I guess digressing back to what we're talking about is like, there's a point in my life that I was like, I'm a drug addict. This is how I'm going to have to manage the rest of my life, and I know what was important for me is that people were like, look, man, I used until I was 55, and it took till I was 55 to get it, Chris. Because like I said, I was like, I don't know I've been to the best rehabs in the world, the best money could buy, I'll say the like state sponsored, court ordered, kind of ran the whole gamut on everything. And I honestly just, you said lost cause. I kind of felt like that in a sense. Like, man, I don't have to manage this. But meeting, like you said, meeting people where they're at and talking with people, because you never know what these people's situations are and what they have been through and the things you can get it. Because I wanted to think like I'm alone, because like my family, we have a lot of things. Like I have a good family, and they didn't understand a lot of things that I was dealing with in addiction. I was like, nobody really understands this, but I promise. I know for me that there are people that legitimately get it.
Yeah.
And that's what took me a minute to understand, because it's like the loneliness, or just like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
And then two, I know being vulnerable and just like, look, man, this is where I'm at. This is how I feel. And this sucks.
Yeah. I can also relate with you too. I try to kind of move away. I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. So I lived out there for 5 years.
Fun.
Yeah, so
it's gorgeous out there.
Yeah, but in that experience, and then what I know now is you can run from problems, but they don't get any better unless you do something about it, And it's like, that's where I've learned kind of the hard way. You can run as far as you want, it's still gonna follow you.
You're taking
because that was my problem.
You're taking this with you.
Yeah, you blaming others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all I did was I blamed others. But it took no responsibility, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna move here, and everything's gonna get better, and it drastically got worse. I mean,
it keeps getting worse.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Look, I want to ask you this, and I know we talked about it earlier. If there was one thing, and again, this is hard to kind of nail down, but what was one thing in your recovery that has helped you the most?
It's a culmination of things for me, like for everyone, it's a full continuum, because I have supportive family, and that was huge for me. Having recovery friends, I don't think you can, like you said, you can't do it alone. And even when you have supportive family, they don't relate, they don't get it. They're supportive and they love you and they want you to be great, but they don't fully get it. And so having recovery friends, having support, and a full lifestyle change, like not putting myself in those situations anymore. And finding a way to live out my purpose, like finding a way to use all the terrible things I did and all the things that happened to me that were bad, and now I can talk about them and it helps people. Like that was a game changer for me, to find purpose in everything that I was ashamed of or embarrassed about.
Yeah. That's why, I'm grateful to have, and meet people like you, and have Chris, and shout out Holden.
Yeah, shout out
we
Holden.
Love you too.
Heck yeah, dude.
And it's cool to have friends like, we all kind of mesh, I think, just to kind of make this little podcast happen and stuff. So we all kind of support. We've all been through it, and it's like you said, it's good to have that kind of relationship with people. Just to, you can have family, but you gotta have people to get through it all, and that relate. Like you said. So I can really.
And you have to have them to call you out, like, on your crap.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
The
No doubt.
mentality of it, like how we can be manipulative and arrogant and egotistical and
Lie.
yes, liars.
We like to sit. That's our favorite thing to do. Is just sit here and lie to each other.
So you have to have people that aren't just your friend, but are not afraid to call you out on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those are the people that really care. You know what I mean? Like, look, hey, nah, bro. Like, stop, man.
Yeah.
You can't fool a fooler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Shut
can't
up.
You can't fool a fooler, man.
Yeah.
But, is there anything else you want to really go into, Nikki?
I can't think of anything.
Well,
Is there anything you want me to touch on?
No,
I think you kind of put in
we kind of put it all
a
out
great
there,
perspective. We appreciate you
Yeah.
so
Thank you
much
for
putting us on the boat.
Heck
And
yeah. going
beautiful
here.
Smith Lake.
Absolutely.
Now we
man.
got a new best. Well, he's known you.
We're best friends
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
No, man, we're really thankful to have have you on.
I'm grateful to be able to do it. I'm always happy to share my story. And I told myself when I got sober, I would never, not that you're not wonderful and great, but I would never turn on anybody who asked me to share my story, because it's an opportunity, like, to touch a life that maybe is out there thinking
One person.
that they don't want to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So,
Yeah, we appreciate you being on. Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate. Hey, like and subscribe. You know, we got our girl Nikki on. I mean, I'm sure y'all.
come
will
on,
watch her.
show some support.
Show
right
some
here.
love for her or something, man. But anyway, we love y'all. Thank y'all.
Love y'all.
Appreciate it.